Everyone, Turtle here with an update for the Occult Tank build for update 1.07. I wanted to go over the gear items because the last build I had on this didn't reflect that. I use a heavy head and heavy chest being the most important due to the I receive, which in turn boosts my damage overall based on the complete physical resistance stat. For the shoulders, I go for occult damage and either resource regeneration or rage and willpower cost reduction. For the hand pieces are the same. I either go for rage reduction or willpower cost reduction, on top of the main stat being a percentage occult damage. On the rings, what I tend to socket for is the transfer time between willpower and rage, due to the simple fact that I am using a one-handed with Catalyst. Catalyst reduces the time between switching from rage to willpower, so this, or socketing these gems into the rings, help. The reason I use a one-hand with a Catalyst is due to the fact that I like using rage abilities. So right here, Bleeding Edge, sometimes I'll use Wrath instead, but what that in turn does is increases different types of ailment stacks I can apply, as well as push my willpower back from using rage abilities. This also gives me the ability to slot out certain abilities. Right now I'm running Plague Burst, which is a spell, but what I can do from running one-handed and Catalyst is slot in Sovereign Shout or Juggernaut here. These are great utility skills depending on the situation and the groups that I run with. Since I'm running solo, I have to do more damage. I run Plague Burst. So let's go into the details of the skills really quick. Our main ability here is Anomaly. Being able to cast 2 and suck everything in is a key point of this build, because once everything is drawn into one centralized area, as soon as they start dying, Plague Burst will explode and deal damage to everything in that small area. I use Infinity Blades because I prefer to be in melee range, as well as the modifications that allow me to do more damage to other abilities. The debuff, the increase in Aether damage, and increase in spell after this is used. So this is my main spamming ability while everything else is on cooldown. And Bleeding Edge whenever my willpower is getting low and I have too much rage, so I need to spend some. Alright, let's go into the Gates of Fate passive tree. Everything for your standard ailment build is still the same. We get the ailment chances, the increased ailment stacks, as well as multipliers and damage increase based on the number of ailment stacks that's in place. My main defensive ability is still Dire Juncture. Again, this helps me with the one shot. And since I do have Life Leech and Bulwark of Dawn running, it allows me to heal back the other 60% that would come a second later in terms of damage. Even though this got nerfed, still a great ability to have, which time cannot heal, increases your damage by double every 1.5 seconds if they have the Aether status on them, or the stasis status. I still run Virtuous Stance even though it got corrected. I run this for the Probing Weakness, which increases block efficiency and block chance. Global Life Leech here. Occult Afflictions is still great. The additional curse stacks to deal damage. And right now I'm 1 point away from Fatal Path. The points that I removed were in the Praetorian tree. I removed a lot of the defenses after this update because I was still able to face tank everything, but things were dying very slow. So I removed a lot of defense in order to work towards offense. So I'm working towards Fatal Pact now with the removal of these defensive abilities, as well as this amazing node right here, Dawn's Pious Striker. So I'll go ahead and highlight that in the run through after this part of the video to show how this ability works. Obviously, you can see from reading it, it deals 15% damage once they hit 15% of their maximum health. And spending the extra point here for sudden death allows this to work on everything, even bosses. So when you're running expeditions, you get to the end, as soon as you get the boss to 15%, it will get one-shotted. For defensive abilities, we still have Belligerent Banner and Salvatory Anchor, just because I like to run heavy and the resistances increase my damage overall. So it works as a great synergy. So let's go ahead and get to the run and show off Pious Striker. So Pious Striker is going to be a yellow lightning bolt that hits targets automatically once they hit 15%. Obviously you have to deal sacred damage, but I have a ton of abilities that already deal sacred damage, like Bulwark of Dawn, Anomaly, which is a damage over time, has sacred damage on it. As soon as they hit 15% and they take 1 damage of sacred damage, they will go ahead and get one shot. So remember, you'll see a ton of yellow lightning bolts that start hitting enemies.
Bye.